So shall we start, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shall we start, sir?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected principal, madam, fellow colleagues, dear participants, I'm much happy to welcome you all for the third webinar of Zoology Department. I'm much happy to welcome you all on behalf of the department. Revolution in Structural Biology. The development of structure of biological molecules parallelly evolved with the technology developed in allied fields such as chemistry and physics, and also other fields. So advancement in these fields also developed or utilized by the biologists to disclose the structure and also the taxonomical features of the living organism. In this backdrop, I'm much happy to welcome Dr. C. Prabhakaran of International Institute of Molecular Biology, Poland, for a keynote address or a invited talk on revolution of structural biology. He will be introduced by Dr. M. Sundaramurthy, who is the organizing secretary of this webinar. So I invite Dr. M. Sundaramurthy of Zoology Department to introduce the guest to the audience. Thank you, sir. Over to Dr. Sundaramurthy, sir.
Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to all. I am happy to introduce the resource person of this webinar, Mr. C. Prabhakaran, who is my old student. He did his BTech degree graduation in biotechnology in AIT Engineering College, Mandargudi, affiliated to Anna University in 2010. He has successfully completed his MTech degree in biotechnology in SRM University, Chennai in 2015. He has gained 3 years of research experience as DST research assistant in IBAB, Bangalore from 2016 to 19. Currently, he is pursuing his PhD program in the Laboratory of Protein Structure of International Institute of Molecular and Cell Biology, Warsaw, Poland. And he has also many research publications in reputed and high-impact journals. With this brief introduction, I hand over this session to Mr. Prabhakaran. Prabhakaran, please. Prabhakaran? Prabhakaran, please start your session.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir. Dr. Prabhakaran, go ahead.
Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you so much for your kind introduction to me. So I am very happy to present this event. So my presentation will be divided into two parts. The first part will be covered by history of structural biology, how it's evolved, how it's important to biology. So what are the field involved in this field, how it's evolved from more than 100 years. So what are the discoveries happened till to date, and etc. So second part will be I'm talk about experimental science. So what I have done from 2016 to 2019. So it will be morely covered by the experimental part. So before going to the history, first we will talk about what is structural biology. It's structural biology is combination of different fields. So especially in molecular biology and biochemistry, biophysics, and computer science and mathematics, and etc. So many fields are involved in this. It's a combination of the field. So finally, based on the, we will acquire all the other field information. Finally, we applying to solve the biological problems. So before going to the history, first we will see about X-ray crystallography. So first of all, why structure is very important. So if you want to mention about any person or a specific place, first we have to discover about the shape or size or based on the color or something actually. So we should know the structure. Without structure, we won't interpret about that actually. So especially for that, especially we need some. First, we should know the personality, even person or object, whatever it is. So in biology, so if we want to address the fundamental problem, we should know the structure, especially the biological macromolecules such as nucleic acid, protein, carbohydrates, and lipids. So for that, in this field, as in structural biology, so it's developed based on the X-ray crystallography. So before I will give the introduction about the crystallography, what it is. So then we'll go to the history. So crystallography, it's like we have to grow the crystals. It's like you have to, right, biological macromolecules or carbohydrates or proteins or lipids or nucleic acids. First, we have to isolate the proteins. Then we have to put into the solution state with high salt content. So we have to close in the proteins container. We have to allow the slow evaporations. It's a long time slow evaporation. Day by day, its water molecules level will decrease. Then slowly the biological macromolecules they will assemble themselves. So then it will make orderly packing. So we get a uniform the crystals. You can see the crystal here. So you can see the crystal here. So we will apply the crystal after 7 days or a week, after 7 days or 10 days or month. Some crystal will grow after a year also. So we can't predict that. So we have to grow the crystal. Then we have to, this is the crystallography loop. So we have to mount the crystal. We have to shoot it in the X-ray beam. So the X-ray beam hit the crystals. So X-ray beams directly go and hit the atoms. Then the electron will diffract. You can see the electrons pattern here actually. So electron spots. So these electron spots, we will apply the mathematics here. Use Fourier transform. So they will measure the electron distance. Then based on that, the program will generate the electron density map. So for the initially after diffraction the data, we will get the electron density map. So it will be like almost 10%. It will be fit the model. So what we have to do? We have to do fix one by one each residues. Slowly we have to develop the model. Then if you increase if you develop the model, slowly the error rate will be reduced. So you will get complete protein structure here. So based on the success, we have to interpret the mechanism. Then we can address the problem. So this is the overall crystallography story. So then we can start the history. So before 19th century, the Röntgen, he found the X-rays. So after that, they have applied different biological problems. But after beginning of the 19th century, so 4 scientists involved, the British scientists involved in that. So they have observed in the laboratory the X-rays is diffracting the crystals. So then in 1920 they have reported that. So after that, William Bragg and Lawrence Bragg, both of them, the father and son. So they have started to work on that. The Lawrence Bragg, so William Bragg, he has solved the problem, but finally the Lawrence Bragg, he has that time he was a MSc student. He was working in the laboratory for thesis. So that time he took the NX sodium chloride crystal, he diffracted based on the electron spot. He has solved the structure. So then both of them get awarded Nobel Prize in 1915. So one interesting story, that time he was one of the youngest Nobel laureate till now. Another thing, actually, before 25, he got the Nobel Prize. So before going to propose to his girlfriend, he said, I'm a Nobel laureate. I'm very interested about you. Please accept my proposal. Like that, he proposed. It's a very interesting story. So till now, he is one of the youngest Nobel laureate. Then after that, after 20 years, many people are working at the Cavendish laboratory in Cambridge. So then Another one group actually is Marius Wilkinson. He's working with he's involved in the trying to develop the X-ray diffractometers. So her name is Rosalind Franklin. She was working under him as a postdoc student. So you can see the diffracted patterns. It's like the photo 51 is a very famous name actually in the biology, because it's a very clear pattern. You can see the aDNA structures. Then Rosalind Franklin, she tried to solve the DNA structure, but she could not. Then she moved from the lab. She went to some other lab. She started to own group. Then her boss, Rosalind Wilkinson, he was presenting at a European conference. That time, you know very well these two guys, actually, the James Watson, Francis Crick, some American biologists and British physicists. So both of them, they were attending the lecture. Then they discussed with Wilkinson. They got the data from him. So they're trying to build the model. After 2 years, they have solved the structures. So they got the Nobel Prize for that. But they didn't diffract that. But most of the work done by Rosalind Franklin. But then finally, they have solved the structures. For that time, these 3 people awarded Nobel Prize. But most of them, they talk about the DNA. They will only mention about the Watson-Crick model, They forget about the Wilkinson. Wilkinson did a lot of work in this contributions. So Rosalind Franklin, that time she was died actually because she got carcinoma due to continuous exposure of X-ray, which was cancer. So she died. So then now the community, they decided they introduced a new award like Rosalind Franklin Award in UK. So then after this, the same time, another one guy is like Professor Linus Pauling. He got 2 Nobel Prize, one for alpha helix model, another for Peace Prize. He's one of the very famous chemists. He was working in Chicago universities. First, he also involved in the double-stranded DNA structure solving, but he could not solve it because he put inside of the phosphate sugars, deoxyribose sugars. Watson-Crick cleverly they put inside the nitrogen bases. That's why their model gets succeed. So then apparently he was working in the alpha helix. So finally he solved the structures. He proposed the model. So he got the Nobel Prize. You can see here in alpha helix, for 1 turn 3.6 radius share the space. You can see first amino acids and 4th amino acids, carbon and hydrogen share the hydrogen bond. Based on that, they have built the proper packing of the alpha helix. Otherwise, it will be like a loop. So then you all know that it's a very famous Indian crystallographer in biophysics, G.N. Ramachandran. He finished his PhD, then he moved to, not the PhD, it's a doctoral science under Sir C.V. Raman. So then he moved to Cambridge, at the Cavendish Laboratory. So he worked with the Bragg. Then he learned some biophysical techniques as well as some other interesting projects. That time he learned the Cambridge group trying to solve the collagen structure, but they could not. So Ramachandran just took the data. He came to India. So he was trying to solve the structure with his students, Gobinath Karta. Then they took 2 years. Then finally they solved the structure. They published, they sent it to Nature. But cleverly, the Watson-Crick, they didn't allow to publish his paper. They put on the hold. Meanwhile, they working with their students. They published the paper. They said Ramachandran model was wrong. Then finally, again, Ramachandran gave the interpretation for that. Then the paper got accepted, but they didn't accept the model. They said wrong. Then that time, the famous scientists, Linus Pauling, some other Bragg, all are supported to Ramachandran. Ramachandran model was right. So then Ramachandran moved to some other interesting research like Ramachandran plot. So till now, the Ramachandran plot is if you want to solve the structure, if you want to upload into PDB data bank without Ramachandran model, you can't submit in that. If you accept all the allowed or disallowed region in the Ramachandran model, then only the PDB data bank, the people will allow to submit your model. So still is very potential, still is very famous. So, but a lot of the British politics, and we were at the time in the colonial, so we don't have good scientists to nominate for Nobel Prize. So even though Ramachandran nominated 6 times for Nobel Prize, but he didn't get one. So, but but other scientists like Linus Pauling and John Kendrew, Max Perutz, all are actually suggested Ramachandran equal to Nobel class scientist. So not even India also, they didn't give not even one Padma awards, not even Padma Bhushan, Vibhushan or Bharat Ratna. He did very fantastic contribution to the science, but the people didn't recognize him properly. So that is one of the sad story. But even though up to his end of his life, he's contributed many things in science. Even his students did, the beta turn. So even two beta sheet in connecting loop like beta turn. So his students proposed a model, but he said, I don't want authorship. You did everything, so you write and publish the paper. He didn't influence that. So he's one of the fantastic scientists in India. So the very interesting story is in 1950s, at that time, only 3 groups were doing crystallography. One is actually Chicago group, Linus Pauling. Another group is the Cavendish Laboratory at the UK. So there, Bragg as well as you can see the James Watson, Leonard. So these people only working here. Another group is Madras, the Madras group. So if you go to 1950 or before 1940, they will say Madras group, not in the they will mention like that. So he is a very, very famous guy. So after 1959, so two people came from the structures, this Max Perutz and John Kendrew. So Max Perutz is a student of John Kendrew. Then both of them trying to work this hemoglobin, myoglobin structure. They have solved the structure. They achieved up to 4 Armstrong structures because this is the first protein structure. Because they have purified the protein, crystallized and solved, they have interpreted the data. So both of them get the Nobel Prize in 1959. So the parallelly another great scientist, she did a lot of contribution to science. Her name is Dorothy Hodgkin. She has solved in penicillin structure. It saved most of the people in the Second World War. The second structure will be the vitamin B12. So another contribution. Another 30 years she spent for to solve the insulin structure. Finally, she solved the structure. She got the Nobel Prize. But mostly the Dorothy Hodgkin, mostly she will take Indian students, mostly Indian postdocs. She will train nicely. So today, if you look at other countries, India is much developed in crystallography. So it's due to she also one of the reason. But for insulin structure, so the professor name is Vijayan, is a former director of Indian Institute of Science. So he went postdoc under her. She did most of the structural work he did actually. So he solved the structure. He came to India. He established biophysics unit different places. So another great scientist, if you look at Friedrich Sanger, Sanger is a very great man. He got 2 Nobel Prize. And if you look at his career, he published only 25 papers. If you publish 25 papers in India, so they won't give the Turner Professorship. But he had only 20 papers, but he got 2 Nobel Prize. So the Nobel Prize not depend upon the paper or some other things. It's depend upon the discoveries. So first he spent more than 20 years. He sequenced insulin amino acids. Then he spent more than 30 years to solve the DNA sequencing. You all know that actually the famous machine like Sanger sequencing. Now it's a developed technologies. It came like the Illumina, the PacBio. So many technology came actually. So after 60 to 80, another one the major discovery was done by Alexander Rich. He's a surgeon. Then he very interested in science. He moved to biology. Then he did PhD at Harvard. Then he moved to postdoc at Cambridge. She worked under Francis Crick. That time Francis Crick, after DNA, the Francis Crick group very interested in the tRNA structure. So many groups attempting this structure, but finally he worked under him. He learned the technique. He learned the problem. He came to MIT. He solved the tRNA structures. It's a major discovery at the time. Right? tRNA is very important molecules in the biology. So each amino acid has a specific tRNA. So based on that only it will absorb it will properly go and fit in the mRNA. So it will start the protein synthesis. Then after 10 years, he trying to solve the different DNA structures, but finally he got one DNA structure, but it's very unusual. He was wondering actually what it is. Then he found it's called the zDNA, because ddNA everything is right-handed right-handed based on the alpha helix forming. But if you look at the zDNA, it's left-handed. It formed the left-handed helix. Then if you look at the base pairs inside, its base pair is like more than it will be a number of.
Prabhu, please raise your voice little.
Hello?
Please raise your voice little.
Okay, sorry, sir. So then he found the zDNA. So zDNA is one of the major contribution in his career. It's right now I'm also working in the zDNA for how viral protein enter into the cell body. Then it will be like GC rich sequence. So our protein, actually the antiviral protein, they'll directly go and bind to the bDNA. It convert to the zDNA. So we can stop the viral infections. So in 1980 to 90, so it's like more than 40 years story. So for a monoclonal antibody, so the 3 Nobel Prize went to monoclonal antibody. So 4 different groups worked in this project. First group proposed the model. So this second group is started the production. The fourth group is the third and fourth group, they developed the polyclonal antibody. The 2017 or 18, they get the Nobel Prize. So so why I have put these 2 guys, actually George and Cesar, they have spent more than 20 years for that. They're developing the techniques based on the theory. So they're trying to purify the antibodies. They want to solve the structure, give the interpretation. They takes more than 20 to 30 years. So more than 50% of antibody target based on the monoclonal antibodies. It's like a $1 billion business. So then another one famous scientist, Sir Aaron Clark. So he was born in South Africa. He moved to Cambridge. He very interested in science. Then he was started to do the science. He did 2 major contributions. One is protein DNA complex. Before that, they saw the protein structure as well as the DNA structures, but they didn't solve the protein DNA complex. So then Alan Clark interested in that he has solved the zinc finger transcription factor with DNA. Then another his major contribution is like a viral DNA. So he want to solve the entire viral particle. He reached up to 20 Armstrong, but he could not solve the entire things. So we could see the surface, but we can't see the even atom by atoms. So he got also 2 Nobel Prize, one for the protein DNA complex, another for peace. Then another 40 years story. So the 3 great people involved in this ribosome. So after DNA discovery, the people, after that, the unsolving problem is the ribosome. Ribosome is a very fundamental problem in the biology. So this is a very, they will call like a black box. Because the protein synthesis is a fundamental for all living things. Without protein synthesis, it won't happen anything. Cell division, cell growth, or antibody productions, or nothing else. So what happened actually? This Thomas State, he's a Watson Crick student. The Ada Yonah, she's an Israeli scientist. He's an American scientist. You know Venki Ramakrishnan, right? He's Chidambaram born is American-British structural biologist. He finished his PhD in physics. Then he doesn't know what to do. So that time his father and mother is a biologist and ecologist. So they suggested to go do in biology. So you'll get a lot of interesting problem you can solve, and he can do some contribution to science. So then he decided to do postdoc. Then he joined his friend's lab, Somerset's friend's lab. It's like his name, I forget the name actually. So friend's lab, he learned the ribosome problem. What are the problem? So he learned how to purify the ribosome. All the things he learned 4 years. Then he moved to some other University of Utah or National Brookhaven Laboratory. So then he started to build his own group, as well as he started to address the ribosome problem. So that time more than 10 groups working for ribosome. But 1985, the Ada Yonah, she did major breakthrough in he solved the entire 50S subunits, but she could not solve the 30S subunit. She has contributed also in crystallography. If while shooting the crystal, due to radiation damage, crystal will die while diffracting. So for that, she is introduced on techniques like cryo cryofreezing technique. So continuously liquid nitrogen exposure will be in the crystals while diffracting. So crystal won't die. We can collect the data. That is the major impact that time. That time also came in the synchrotron radiation. We can tune the wavelength, whatever wavelength we can tune. We can shoot the crystals. We'll get high resolution up to 1 Armstrong structures. So these three people, they were, it's a tight competition. So then finally, Venki Ramakrishnan, the 2000 Venki Ramakrishnan solved entire 30S subunit with the mRNA as well as with the antibody. That is the major, the breaking point. So what is the thing? If you give the antibiotic, whatever it is, it will go directly. It will inhibit the ribosome functions, the bacterial ribosome function. So without a ribosome function, the bacteria won't survive. It will die. So ribosome-based antibodies they have produced, but they did not know up to 2000. The problem was started in 1940, but up to 2000 they did not know how it's happening. More than 60 years they're trying to solve the structure. They could not solve the structure. They were fighting with this problem. So finally, 2000, he has addressed the problem. They solved the structures. After 10 years, they solved the entire ribosome with antibodies and with tRNA and mRNA and different other factors. So for that, both of three actually they were shared the Nobel Prize.
அதுவே தெரியல எனக்கு பாருங்க.
Revolution in structural biology. In what he did actually after he finished his PhD, then he moved to US. He worked for 4 years in as a postdoc. Then again he returned to Cambridge. So that time he solved trypsin, chymotrypsin. So this protein, he has solved the different structures. Finally, he decided after crystallography we want to solve bigger structures. So for that we need new technology. So that time he proposed the cryogenic microscopy principle. So then that time there is no techniques actually, just principle only he proposed. Then these two, the American scientists, the Frank and Switzerland scientist Jacob, both of them, the physics and chemistry, both of them trying to build the equipments. So the different aspects they were developing the techniques. So finally, the 2000 they built a model. So that time they acquired the structures around 10 Armstrong structures. Then after 5 years, they reached up to 4 Armstrong structures. So for that, they share the Nobel Prize.
Sir, excuse sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, your PPT is not visible, so that you present it again. Your PPT.
So entire PPT or current PPTs? So which ones you are asking? Could you see my PPT? Hello?
Sir, entire PPT.
Entire PPT.
Yeah.
Okay. You see right now? Hello?
Sir, you are in the view. So PPT is not viewed. So we are viewing yourself. That you please upload your PPT once again.
So beginning onward, you didn't see the PPT, right?
No, in between we are able to see most of the slides. Very recently, we are not able to see the slides. We are seeing you only.
Okay, sir. I will try to.
Once again, use the present.
Try to reload.
Sir, go ahead,
So
sir.
do you
Go
see the
ahead.
PPT right now?
Yeah.
So after this, sorry for the interruption. So after this cerium electron microscopy, they're trying to solve the different sectors. Like you can solve up to it's a Mayer-Dalton protein. You can see the entire complex here. It's like more than 500 kilodalton protein. It's like a proteasome. It's more than 20 protein present here. First, I will give a little bit introduction about cerium electron microscopy. You can see just you have to purify the protein in solution state. You put into the grid. So then immediately you have to give the liquid nitrogen treatment. It will freeze the protein in different conformations. So after that, we have to keep into the machines. So you can see the machine here, the holder you put into inside. So they will start pass the rays. So if you shoot, then the diffracted electrons will create the image like that. So two-dimensional image here. Then two-dimensional image here. So then it will be like around 20 Armstrong sectors. So then they will maximize by using different softwares. Then you can see like each residues by residues actually. So you can see the right side is the human Flaciosome B complex. So recently the Kin Nage groups is solved at MRC. So maybe another 1 or 2 years they'll get the Nobel Prize for that. So entire Flaciosome group they have solved. It's consists of more than 40 protein. So for crystallography we can't solve this kind of proteins because we can solve a single protein. It's a very huge complex. For that is only solution is cerium electron microscopy. So before then you can see here actually the even atom by atom model of the COVID-19, the spike protein structures here, very beautiful structures. It look like all the trees, most of the trees standing in the forest. So you can see very beautiful.
Professor, please speak little sound. Sound is very low. Please.
Okay, now can you hear me? Okay. So now you can see the COVID-19 spike protein structure here. So I skipped the one technology here. So 1991, some British people British and American people they introduced the NMR spectroscopy. That is also one of the powerful tools to solve the structures, but they have a lot of limitations. We can solve structure up to the 50 kilodalton protein, not more than that. It's a solution state structure solving. So compared that, the crystallography, it's more than 100 years people are using that. Now the cerium electron microscopy, it's like it reached up to 2 Armstrong structures. So there now the people are like very crazy there to solve the structures. So they solved. I hope in the future they will solve the we can solve the organs, entire organs. So like that, they're advancing the techniques. So this technology changed the biological futures. So because the biology is mainly depend on two fields. One is actually structural biology. So another is genome biology. So based on that, we can prevent most of the disease. We can produce advanced technology to solve the problems, as well as it's actual biology. It's like acting as the backbone of biology. It's so whatever it is, we address the problem. If you people will look at if you structural level, first we have to give structural level. We have to understand the problem. Then only we can control the problem. So for that, like antibiotic interest is or vaccination, whatever it is, first we need a structure. If you know the structure, then only we can block the replication, or we can inhibit the replications. So for all the things, structural biology is very necessary to solve the problem. Then this, I stop my first part, and next I'm going to talk about my experimental part. I hope it will be useful to you. So my second part is my previous work, what I have done in Bangalore. So the topic is the structural studies of arsenic response to repressor protein. Before going to this talk, I'll give you a little bit of history. This work started early 2000 at Florida and US. The time my boss was doing postdoctoral scientist. He was working in this protein. He trying to solve the structures, but he could not. So he finished postdoc. He taken this protein. He came to Bangalore. He joined as assistant professor at MKU. He trying to solve the success, but he progressed, but he could not solve the success. Again, he moved to IBB, Bangalore. So there also he was working. Then after 2000, after finishing my masters, I joined as a research assistant. So under him, then I started this project. So I'll give a little bit of introduction about this project. Then we can see the success. So you all know that arsenic is a highly toxic metalloid. It's the king of poison. It's the 20th abundant element on the Earth crust. It's a well-known metalloid. It's mainly present in the Earth two form. One is organic, another one is inorganic. Organic is non-toxic. Inorganic is more toxic to human. So mainly the arsenic exposed in the natural environment in two ways. One is geogenic pollution, another is anthropogenic solution. So geogenic is a natural process, mostly arsenic present in the rock. So some natural circumstances, arsenic mobilizes into the water. It's increasing arsenic concentration in the drinking water. Is drinking water is increasing. It's lead to cause different disease. Another is anthropogenic source. It's based on the human activities. For arsenic also, it's useful to do some industrial productions. So producing pesticide, veterinary medicines, cosmetics things, and mining, so many things. It's helpful to the other some applications. For that, they will use the arsenic to they're trying to purify the arsenic. That time they will that's mixed with drinking water. So it's increase the arsenic contaminations all over the world. You can see here actually, the globally more than 30 countries are affected by arsenic pollution. So, more than 200 million people are drinking arsenic contaminated water. So you can see here, so India also the majorly affected in, Kolkata, there's Bengal. So another thing is Karnataka, the major part, because the World Health Organization and the US Environmental Protection Agency, they have set the arsenic permissible limit in the water in 10 parts per billion. But in India, the people are drinking more than 50 parts per billion in the drinking water. So it's a long time exposure in arsenic is cause different diseases, especially in cancer. You can see in the arsenic exposure, long time exposure is inhibit the 200 enzymes in our body. So that leads to call different disease like diabetics, coronary heart disease, and skin cancer, lung cancer, and etc. So what is the chemistry behind that? So arsenic, the trivalent arsenic, the inorganic organic is a two form. It's a pentavalent arsenic, it's a trivalent arsenic. So pentavalent arsenic is less toxic, the trivalent arsenic is more toxic. So arsenic is highly affinity with the thiol group. So wherever involved in our body, the cysteine chemistry, so the arsenic go on to interfere with that. So it will bind with that protein. It will change their functions. It's a long time. The malfunctions lead to cause different diseases. So it is in the human, but arsenic not toxic to microbes, because microbes they have Rs operon. It's Rs gene. It consists of 5 genes: Rs A, B, C, D, R. What will happen actually? The RSR is arsenic enter into the microbes. It will go on to bind the RSR gene. So it will start the transcription. Then RSD will reduce. RSD is a reductase enzyme. It's reduce the arsenic from to trivalent to monomethyl trivalent. So then the C is a transporter chaperone. It will transport to the A and B. So A and B is a pumping protein, and A is a pumping protein, B is a ATPase. So it will remove the arsenic from the cells. It will detoxify the cells. So for that, here actually, before starting our project, they have solved the structure A, B, C, and D. They have solved. They didn't solve the RSAR structures. So our group were trying to solve. We involved in the trying to solve these structures. So what we have done, so we have screened more than 400 species in the NCBI website. So finally we choose 10 species. I didn't include another 2 species. So you can see here red color I labeled like cysteine residues. So for arsenic binding, we need 2 cysteine and 1 single cysteine. The 3 cysteine will make the sulfur coordination with arsenic, trivalent arsenic. So it will form strong coordinated covalent bonds. So then I did pairwise alignments. So you can see the 10 species. They have only 20% of sequence similarity, but they have conserved residues. They have 5 alpha helix, 2 beta sheets. So this is the cartoon representation here. So very conserved here. Then I have cloned into this protein, the protein. Then I expressed it using different expression system. So I did a preliminary expression. You can see the STS phase here. It's arsenic around 110 amino acids. It's a 15 kilodalton protein. Then I did affinity purification. You can see beautiful purification here. So I used the NA column. Then I purified. Then I made crystal setups. Then after 15 days, I got the crystals, 2 different species. So we have diffracted. So we are using, mostly we will diffraction, we will go to IAC for diffractions. So we have solved the structures. You can see here that this is the entire structures. We upload into PDB data bank. This is the PDB ID. You can see very beautiful structures here. This is Acetobacillus peroxidus species, RSAR protein. This is Corneobacterium glutamicum RSAR protein. So we have called 2 different species RSAR protein. They have only 10% of sequence identity, but they have similar structural fold. That is the beauty of this work. So then we superimpose these 2 model. We can see almost fit all the 2 structures almost similar. Even the metal binding site also very similar. So we have compared with other zinc binding protein or cadmium binding protein. So other regulator protein. It's almost very conserved. You can see alpha of a helix orientation only. So to 40 degrees away from the zinc binding proteins. Here you can see it's a 2-dimensional pictures. So just we want to compare, we want to show the variation from other metal binding proteins. You can see here this is AFRSAR, this is CGRSAR. So the structure wise very similar. The metal binding site also very similar, but they have only less sequence similarities. So if sequence if almost sequence difference means structure will be different. This is the common story, but in structural biology is different actually. So they have different sequence, but they adopt the similar structures. So if you compare with the other metal binding site, you can see this metal binding orientation is very similar. Other metal binding site is 40 degree or 35 degrees away from that. Then we have compared with the cadmium structures, cadmium binding protein. We have compared that. So you can see here, this is alpha knot helix. This helix for arsenic binding, it's it's 115 degree to it's come closer to 88 degree for metal binding sites. So this is the major change. We didn't solve the apoform structure. We solved with the substrate. So if you solve the apoform structure, then we can compare with that. And then we compared the structures. We have written the paper. We submitted into Journal of Structural Biology. Then I moved. Then that time I finished my that time I got offer from Poland, so I finished my work. I submitted a paper. I moved from the IBB after 3 years. So then after 2-3 months I went. I am in the Poland. That time my paper got published. I was the first authorship in this paper. So in this laboratory there is no senior, there is no junior. So me and my boss. When I went first day, he introduced me to the laboratory. That's it. Mostly he won't come to laboratory. So mostly I had own. Proudly I will say I had own lab. Actually, there is no interpretation. Actually, I will buy the chemicals, all the things. There is no. So we had all the facilities. I'm only one guy in charge of all the things. So every year we will take 5 MS students. We will train. We send out, but. Unfortunately, no one go to science actually. So all are go to some company. That is a sad thing. So for this project, this is our collaborator Barry Rosen. Yes, the cellular biology and pharmacology, the Florida International University. He is a strong collaborator. He supported his NIH grant for a diffraction and all. So this is my boss, Dr. Tyagarajan. This is me and my friend. Actually, my free time, I was sitting in the modeling lab and trying to build the model by hand, each residues by residues. So we were trying to build a model. That time we have taken these pictures. This is my current research group. So 1 year before I started my work at Poland. So I didn't progress anything because we are working on that different interesting project. I hope next year I will get some some nice success. So we are working for that. For this, actually, from beginning onward, what is one good thing actually? When I finished my undergraduate, then I have worked in the hot tissue protein with Dr. Sunamurthy sir. Then after that, I moved to SRM. Then I 2 years worked on the plant proteins, protein and peptides. Then I had a doubt actually. We are continuously working in plant protein, always purifying the protein. So what is the next step? That time, one of my friends, he told me about the sexual biology, how it will happen, how the more than last 100 years, more than 22 Nobel Prize went to sexual biology, especially sexual solving. Even 2009, ribosome structures. I don't know future they'll get for spliceosome structures. So sexual biology is so powerful, so interesting also. That is also another thing. So painful also, because getting success, you have to spend more than 10 years or 9 years or 20 years. Sometimes some people, they give up. So they don't want to continue because some structure we can't solve actually. So we need some crazy idea, then only we can solve the structure. So then after that, I moved to Bangalore. Luckily, I got the position. Then I got the success. Then now I'm totally shifted to sexual biology. Right now I'm working on chromatogram microscopy to solve bigger complex proteins. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I convinced you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please ask me.
Dr. Sundaramurthy, please carry on the session.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Thank you for your nice presentation. The participants may raise your questions. It's the time for discussion.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Participants, you can ask question rightly by unmuting your microphone.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You.
I'm Dr. Bhima Shafrin from Department of Biotechnology, Alappa University. It was a really nice presentation, sir.
Thank you.
And I work with structural biology and mostly working with models.
Okay.
Recently, we have published a paper with COVID-19.
Okay.
Can you support us if we come up with some structures? Can you help us in solving the structures?
For X-ray structure or EM structure?
Yeah. Because
No,
it is a
which one you
very
are asking?
tedious to do all these things. A person like you telling about all the difficulties, it is nice to hear about that, sir. And mostly in MKU we have a very big place to do all this.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
still,
I know.
we
I have
have
a
a
lot of friends.
difficulty in doing all these things. And a person like you can help us in this area.
Okay.
I'll just
Yeah,
I
I
had
can help. I can help you actually. It's if it's your EMs, if you also I want to know actually what is your exact things. You want to build the model or you want to
no.
analyze the structures?
We build everything in a software, sir.
Okay.
But we do 2D electrophoresis also. And we take the
Okay.
protein, we study with antimicrobial agents and all these things. But coming out with the structure is very, very difficult. It's a great job which you are doing. So in
It's
that aspect,
structure is understanding the structure and give the interpretation is little difficult actually.
but
So yeah,
developing the facility is very difficult, sir.
that's true actually. MK is one of the famous place for structural biology. So now they have closed, right?
Yeah.
They have closed actually. So in Poland, my boss also one of the he is also working in COVID-19 actually. He interestingly doing something. So I came March, but I did not know what they are doing. So
Okay.
I can definitely help you. So
Okay, sir.
Anyway, we will discuss later actually. Whatever
Okay, sir. Sure.
we can discuss and we can solve the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions, please?
Please don't hesitate. You can ask me any question. I'm also students. I'm a PhD student. I'm not a staff. I'm not a scientist. So I'm also learning. Just I'm sharing my knowledge. So don't hesitate. You can ask me the question, any questions, whatever it is.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Prabhakaran. This is a wonderful talk.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think that herbal medicine will help for the COVID-19?
Yeah, it will be
And
helpful.
what is the?
but yeah,
sorry.
yeah. You can.
Do you
okay,
think that
please.
herbal medicine is helpful for the preparation of some sort of kind like medicine for COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely it will be very helpful to solve helpful to eradicate the COVID-19 replications. But what is the thing? So no, actually the plant medicine means we have to isolate the specific compound. We have to isolate the compound. We have to target in that. We have to specify the any compounds. So the herbal medicine is a mixture of compound, right? We can't give the proper mechanism, but it will be the good remedy. But we need scientific evidence. That's why a lot of issues going in Tamil Nadu actually. Some a lot of Siddha people they're using herbal medicine, but the government people they're asking we need a proper evidence, we need a proper proof. So that's why the problem is happening. So if you solve the if you isolate the specific compound, you target that as a drug, then that will be very nice things. It will be work actually. So mostly the the drug means we have to isolate from somewhere. The plant or we have to produce the compound or something we have to produce, right? So that will be also chemical, right? It's not a new things, but yeah, you can try actually. You can isolate the compound, you can prove that. It will be a nice idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Prabhakaran. This is Dr. Ravi Kumar from Sarfaji College.
Sir, actually, sorry, actually, I'm not doctor. I am a PhD student. So.
Okay, anyway, you are going to become a doctor. So whoever doing the research is going to, you are deserved for that.
Okay.
I would like to appreciate you that. So I used to take classes in the protein engineering. I am very much interested in that. So after a long gap, after moved to the government college like Sarfoji, so we don't have an opportunity to teach deep structures and other subjects like this.
Yes, sir.
So thanks for nice presentation.
Thank
So
you, sir.
I also worked on proteins structures and 2D protein structures for cancer therapy and other treatments. I'm quite interested about your lecture and your area of research. So anyway, I will keep in touch with you through Dr. Sundaramurthy, one of your mentor. I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you, sir.
I was your student since 7 years before. I think you forget. You came to my microbiology. I think the practical examination invigilator. So you asked so many questions. Actually.
sorry. Anyway, I'm proud of you that you come up level of this. So this is the thing which we can get as a teacher. So when some of our students come up well, so that is a great feeling we used to have. So wish you all the best, Prabhakaran. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, madam. Your voice is audible. Please talk.
Sir, this is Alag Lakshmi from Alamapa University. I have a small doubt. If you are trying to structure using computer in silico method.
Sorry,
if you are
please.
Structuring.
I could not
Hello?
hear your voice. Actually. Please.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, now I could hear.
Sir, suppose if we are predicting the structure through in silico method, and if you are determining the same or using whatever you are doing, like
So,
in
some other
laboratory.
structural biology techniques.
So how it will be similar, sir? Like when compared to in silico
Yeah, it's a
structures?
nice question actually. It's it's a nature is very clever actually. So if you compare to some structures, it will be very similar. If you, I will explain about my ARSA structures. So already ARSA structures, they have predicted. They have 5 alpha helix 2 beta sheet. So we have solved the structures. So the each species have only the 10% of sequence identity. So sequence identity is a less than 10, but the both protein structures adopt very similar structures. So similar metal binding sites. It's very like very excited one actually. We can't predict actually. Mostly some structure will be very similar, some structure will be entirely different. So we can't predict that actually. So if you solve the structures by X-ray crystallography or NMR or Cray electron microscopy, then only we can say 100% this actually is similar. Otherwise, we can we can say like that. So it will be like theoretical prediction only. We need
Because we have
experimental evidence. Then only people will accept.
Okay, sir. Okay, because we have recently predicted a structure of alpha amylase through in silico method. So we have come across with some functional domain, so which is very helpful in industrial purpose. So we would like to do crystal structure for that. So in future, if we may need your help or assistance, can we contact you?
Yeah, sure. Please, sure. You can contact me.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Please let us know with your email ID and other things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll send you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sai Prabhakaran,
Yes, sir.
one more question has come in the chat box.
Yes, sir.
It is from my colleague Dr. Soundarajan.
Okay, sir.
This is my question. With the help of molecular evolution, can we control COVID-19?
Sir, pardon, sir, I could not hear you. Once again, ask me the question.
With the help of molecular evolution, can we control COVID-19? Revolution.
Sir, revolution. Sir,
that is means topic. Based on
sir, if you
based on your topic.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, the molecular revolution.
Like this?
So we can stop the COVID.
Is there any molecular tool like that?
So we can, sir, we can control the COVID functions. So if you find any drugs or like new approaches, then we can stop the COVID-19 growth and multiplications. So already, two groups involved in two different approaches. It's Sarah Gilbert at Oxford, is a vaccinologist. She is working right now. So one is the mRNA-based target. So another is like a vector-based vaccinations. So I heard actually the mRNA-based target is completely cured completely cured in the animal. So the human trial is right now is going. So I did not know exactly, but we can do it, sir.
It's not audible. It's not audible, bro.
Hello?
Please stop. It's not audible.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, based on the molecular biology approaches, we can stop the COVID-19 infections. It's possible, sir. But so based on the approach, it's depend on the approach. What kind of approaches we are using for that? Sir, can you hear me? Hello?
Sir, can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Myself, Dr. Soundarajan from Raja Sarapoji Government Arts College, one of the close associate with the Dr. M. Sundaramurthy, sir. And then you have replied very nicely that I have expected a very good answer that have I derived from you. Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, sir. Dr. MSM, you can propose vote of thanks.
Okay, sir.